right, here with James Gladstone, the general manager of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Holy cow.
How about that? Like, on Friday, they actually sent out a schedule of the combine, and it said 11:30 a.m. Jaguars GM TBD. And now here you are, just 24 hours after meeting the local media. Welcome, and what has this last week like been for you?
I appreciate the op to sit down with you guys. I'm a little disappointed that I didn't get a "how we doing," right? And
my God, the second podcast plug. Oh, that's so cool, James. Oh my God.
A little disappointed,
That's
but
so
nonetheless,
cool.
it's been a great experience so far. Really getting to know our scouting and coaching staff over this stretch is going to be something I'm really looking forward to. Obviously, we haven't spent a ton of time together, and this is basically an off-site for us. We're already beginning the dialogue around our roster, pro free agency, and through that, a lot of connective tissue just comes to life.
Yeah, you're part of Jourdan's graduating class from the play callers. John Spytek, who joined us on the show, and then
11
yourself
personnel
as well.
die
We gotta
hard.
get
11
more.
personnel die
Yeah.
hard. Yeah, and I love it, James. First of all, this must be crazy, right, for you. And Les's right hand, director of scouting for so many years, overhauling that program in Los Angeles. Those back-to-back draft classes. I was fortunate enough for James to be my tour guide of sorts through the scouting department last year. And the processes that I know you would like to implement over time in Jacksonville, I know you have big goals and big dreams, but where the heck do you start?
I think it starts by calibrating to the current mode of operation in Jacksonville.
Yeah.
All right, so these guys have already teed it up, so to speak, and I'll calibrate to the way that they're operating as opposed to asking them to do that on a wider scale.
Yeah.
And I think that'll allow us to just get in rhythm quicker. It's going to be easier for one person to be agile than a larger group. And then over time, we'll work in some specific efficiencies that'll help us down the stretch here throughout the spring before ever doing more large-scale shifts.
Yeah, it's really interesting because you're coming into it a little later in the process than most general manager. Even if it was like a month ago, like, look, you're right here at the combine. When you think about tackling this roster, obviously you must have spoken about it a lot in your interviews. Yeah. Where do you see the priorities on the roster of areas you want to work on?
You know what? I think we want to do our best job at every position to make it better and better. And so we're not going to look at any one position at this stage as needy more than the other. So I think we're going to keep an open mind, and in these conversations that we have this week, see some of that surface just organically, and I look forward to that.
I liked what you said about it's easier for one person to be agile, and you said it in a voice that I'm very used to hearing in my ear. That was a lessism, I think, a little bit, but it's easier for one person to be agile than the collective. And I think that's also a fact-finding mission about the people you have, right? How are you balancing? I mean, I know you have a bunch of data already from your own analysis and scouting of this last college class, right? But how do you balance all of that data with the processes already in place and get to know people along the way? Like, how do you connect with people?
Yeah, well, okay, so there's layers to that, right?
Sure is.
Yeah, right. I think I'll go to your first question, and I'll go to your second question. I think what I tend to do is I start from a place of humility.
Yeah.
And I think that by doing so, and leveling with people, it garners a mutual level of respect and trust by default. I think beyond that, I'm only familiar with the way that we at the Rams had done it. And so I'm really, really excited to just see a different way of moving about the process. And I am certain there are going to be cool things that surface throughout that I had never thought of and want to carry forward. So that's something that I'm really looking forward to, and I just can't wait to get to know the staff on a deeper level. And I think a lot of these conversations that are happening right now are going to bring that into focus.
Yeah, for our listeners who are curious about your background, I didn't know until this last week that you were coaching a high school team in St. Louis. That's how you first met Les Snead, that his son was on that team. I happened to see his wife had a comment on Twitter just last night, and I wanted to ask you about it. She said that you described yourself as an offensive lineman in a wide receiver's body. Can you just unpack that for us? What does that mean?
You know what? That's interesting. All right, so
She kind of blew up your spot a little
I
bit.
know. I was
there.
like, what does that mean? Oh, wait, I'm going to talk to him tomorrow. I'll ask him.
So I think through that, right, my dad was a second-generation high school teacher and football coach. And so I grew up in the halls of what would, eventually become my high school and the first place out of college that I would work. I grew up in those locker rooms on the sidelines. My dad raised me through the sport of football, through his likeness, and that was an offensive lineman. And really the idea of collective effort and being bigger than any one individual, that's where football captured my heart. And so that's what I mean, right? The idea of it's not about you as much as it is the whole. And so that's why I say, more rooted in the service-oriented, don't need the credit, offensive line mindset. Whereas, wide receivers are a little bit more forward-facing. They put the ball across the goal line, and that's important.
James, you're going to hate this because I'm going to give you a compliment, but the teaching mentality and the background as an educator, as an explainer of things. I know it was a long, long time ago, but those fundamentals and those core principles, you carried that with you into the reshaping and the progressive evolution of the RedZone draft process. What are those fundamentals to you in explaining to a collective what the goal is, how to achieve that goal, and bringing people with you in that explanation?
Yeah. I think football is a complex system with a lot of moving parts. So we're going to focus on some fundamental elements and execute those exceptionally well. Yeah. And I think that helps.
Yeah.
If I dove in a little bit just to story tell.
Please.
Yeah, this is therapy. No one's listening.
I know,
it's fine.
she asks very in-depth questions.
So I used to tease.
It's hard to answer them quickly.
I used to tease you, James, because I'd be like, you just wait. Once you get the big job, I'm finally going to get to talk to you in public.
I appreciate you trying to, turn on the light, so to speak. But nonetheless, when I was a teacher, I knew from a young age that that's what I wanted to pursue. I'd seen my grandfather do it. I'd seen my dad do it. They had success. So I had a roadmap for success and then put my own spin on it. And so when I decided to pivot only 3 years into that profession, after having from a young age the idea that I was going to embark on that for my life's journey, it was a little bit of a shock.
Yeah.
And I went from being a teacher, somebody who identifies strengths and weaknesses in an individual and then helps that individual address those and grow. When I got into then the lens of scouting, you're still addressing or highlighting, identifying those strengths and weaknesses, but you're not a part of the growth. And so initially, that was a void that I had not filled after making a transition. And over time, I started to shape the idea of scouting around, well, here's strengths and weaknesses within a profile, here's strengths and weaknesses within another profile, or within a larger collective group, or a side of the ball, or a team, and pairing those together is where I filled that void. So that's my way of helping others that are playing for us grow by being paired with those who highlight them in the most, complementary way.
And I love that, and I love the offensive lineman mindset as well. And yet we do know some players are more important than others. Trevor Lawrence is obviously front and center of this for this organization. How do you look at your role in trying to help him out, kind of be the best Trevor Lawrence that we've seen so far?
Yeah, I don't think we've seen the best of Trevor, and I really look forward to seeing him within the scheme that Liam brings to life. And I think that the multiplicity that he offers within the scheme, the variety of really the run game and the screen game, it's going to give this team a notable edge, and Trevor's going to feel the benefits of that. Now, beyond that, in terms of personnel, I think interior offensive line is something that helps a quarterback out significantly. Being able to step into your throws is going to just bring success and really bring confidence. And so I think beyond that, obviously, you're always going to want to give him some weapons and continue to keep that deep. But we look forward here down the stretch to address some of these things.
What did you guys say about the lineman you were looking for? As Taylor Morton would say it sometimes too, big, strong, and tough.
Yeah, I would say one of the things that I probably carry with me, and this is at every position, I probably have some version of a slogan, but it's get in the way, stay in the way. If you can do that, you're built to be a Jaguar.
It is an exciting offseason. Jaguars fans deserve it. Some of the most loyal fans in the entire business. And I think it's going to be a fun additive offseason. They add Liam Cohen. They add yourself and not a lot of key free agents, and so
10 draft picks.
Yeah, a lot of draft picks. So look for
now.
the Jaguars team to be a lot different. Ooh, what do you want to say there about for now? You gonna add or subtract?
Well, I'll tell you. I'll
little
tell
hanger,
you.
yeah,
Les
yeah.
Snead said that every year he'd walk off the lectern and he'd go, this many picks, and then he'd go, for now.
Yeah, if you do take anything from Les Snead, we can expect some trades, some wheeling and dealing. Really appreciate the time, James.
Thank you guys very
you,
much.
James.
It was a joy.
Congratulations.
Appreciate it.